Hello, is it Chelsea you're looking for? Except you're blind, so you don't really know what I look like. But I'm like, hello. It's Chelsea at the movies, yay!
Hey, so we went and saw the movie Jojo Rabbit. This is, I think, the screenplay, yes, and directed by, I'm going to have to look at this, Taika Waititi?
I don't know, he did Thor Ragnarok.
He was the guy signed on for Thor Ragnarok. We saw the trailers for this movie. It looked really creative, and I was so interested. So it's the main character, the protagonist, is a young boy around the age of 10 who lives in Nazi Germany, and his imaginary friend is Adolf Hitler. And the movie unfolds from there. That's all I knew because that's what I knew from the trailers going into this. And it was, in the trailers, really led with humor. It looked really funny. I was like, gosh, how fascinating is this? A humorous movie, like, involving Nazi Germany. And anyway, that's like, I don't want to give away too much more of the movie. Kelsey, go wait or skip.
I say go see this movie. It's one of the better movies I've seen in the year. It's both engaging, creative, funny, has a lot of heart. It's a movie about love, about the transformative experience of love in any circumstance. And I think it was just a really awesome experience to go see at the movies.
I also say go see this movie. I don't even know if I have the words to say how much I love this movie. I found like it checked like all the Rachel boxes. It was visually done very well. It was creative. It had a great story. It was funny. And it was edifying. I was deeply moved, and I didn't expect that, really.
Yeah.
When I went into this movie knowing that it like involved like a kind of hilarious imaginary Adolf Hitler. You know what I mean? Like but I definitely like say go see this movie.
Spoilers 9!
Okay.
The other word I know is wunderbar, because my mom is German. She was always like, 9!
No, she was not.
She did say wunderbar, though.
So yeah, this movie.
Yeah,
so good.
This movie's, I was apprehensive about talking about it because it's hard to put into words. I feel like it's a cross between the filmmaker that makes Rushmore. They've got a certain humor to them, and I forget the guy's name right now, the director's name. But it was more than that. It was like partly that, but also really a moving story of this boy being born into this situation and then learning and growing through this situation, through all these opportunities that were presented to him, and then also how little bits of love and kindness in a broken and difficult, horrible world are still very valuable and important. And I especially love the scene in the movie where he's following the butterfly around. He sees that butterfly and it flies over. And that moment in the movie is so heartbreaking and devastating, but also important because here was truly the transformative experience. That's why the butterfly was there. He's transforming, and this, sometimes when we grow and learn and transform into something new, there's a big cost, whether it's for ourselves or from another person. Like there was a huge cost for that transformation. Yeah. And I loved seeing that in art, in a great film, that I think this is the benchmark for what film should be.
I want to say that when I left this movie, like I was deeply moved by it in much the same way that I was when I saw Life is Beautiful.
Yeah.
Which is also a movie about the Holocaust, but very different movies. But both like reached me on a very, very deep level. And I thought it was so fascinating to write like a movie about a young boy who is likable, right? Like he was, just to do that, but in Nazi Germany. Yeah. So like imagine like a young American boy who's brought up in like on a, what is it called, a base? Like maybe he grows up on an army base, and so patriotism is like a really big thing. And he has an American flag in his room, and he has all this stuff. And then he's part of like a club where he goes and gets to learn about what American soldiers do and what America stands for. So imagine that, but like it's in Nazi Germany. And so we come in with this kind of like were like Nazis. Like, the minute you see a swastika or whatever it is, you're immediately like put off. But to understand, to get, not even to understand, but to get the viewpoint of a boy growing up in that. And I just thought it was like really, really great, and it was done so well across the board.
And of course, inevitably, his mother is secretly part of the resistance against the oppression of the Nazi government. And on top of that, within the walls of her home, she's hiding a little Jewish girl who was friends with her daughter before her daughter passed away. And so it really puts this boy and this girl together, and he learns, obviously, like universal truths about the value of human life, and kind of unlearns the propaganda that he had been taught through the movie.
Face to face with the propaganda that he's taught with a like human person. And I would just want to like give a shout out to the director and who's also the screenwriter in the courage to really put this out there in the like truth. The boy in the movie, like the way they talk about Jews, it's kind of like, it's harsh.
Yeah.
So what this boy thought about Jews, and I mean, some of it seemed silly to us, but it was also like, he didn't think this girl, who was a few years older than him, was a real like human person. He didn't think that she deserved to live. He thought Jews deserved to die. And they stayed true to that in the movie. I really appreciated like not placating to maybe an audience where you might be like, oh, well, that's too much.
I think it's also an incredibly important movie in our time if we, as the viewers, allow it to be, because the truth is that what any group, almost every group that has ever been around has at one time or another incorrectly dehumanized the opposition group. And so you can see it a lot in our American culture, if you're in the United States, in both political parties that we have today, dehumanizing the other side as if we're not human or they're not human. And anytime you see a group doing that, I think that's a good argument to challenge those conceptions. And it's needed right now so that, that we can live a life that is free of that kind of hateful nonsense,
The director did a great job creating the movie to show being boys.
It was fun. It was
so
great.
They weren't.
It was great.
Yeah, sometimes you see movies and sitcoms
where they're acting like adults,
where children act like adults.
Right.
But this wasn't that. I should have looked it up. There's another movie that did a really good job with this.
Which is funny because in reality, it's more like adults act like kids rather than kids act like adults.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
On my Insta stories the other day, I had a little thing about like the labels of using adults, the labels of adult and children, and how I'm not sure how helpful that is. Tangent. Back to the movie, he did an excellent job, like seeing like this is how a 10-year-old boy would act, and getting to see his imaginary friend who's Adolf Hitler. That comes out of his head.
Yeah, so it's not
Adolf Hitler. Yeah. It's what a 10-year-old German boy like can imagine Adolf Hitler is.
Yeah.
If it was his best friend.
Yeah.
And he only has so much capacity for what an adult man might act like. So sometimes Adolf acts like young, a 10-year-old boy, like with the way he walks around. That was just like fascinating look into that whole experience. He did an excellent job.
Such a good movie that I can't wait to see it again, and I just saw it last night. It was really great.
Yeah, I can't, there's just, like, so much I can say about it. The movie started with a bunch of old highlights of, like, Nazis, but played it up against a Beatles song.
Yeah.
And that was really fascinating to me. Scarlett Johansson did an excellent job.
What about Rebel Wilson? She's always really funny.
Rebel Wilson was funny.
Who's the
guy? I gotta find his name because when he came on the screen, I was like, oh, Sam Rockwell. Sam Rockwell was in it.
What an amazing performance.
And I remember when he came on the screen, I was like, oh, can he have a German accent?
He was complex.
As far as I know, I don't know, like I've never been to Germany. Sam Rockwell did like an amazing job. His character, like talk about like love through sacrifice.
Yeah. I love this movie because I love movies about love. And this movie had love all throughout it, and love in very imperfect, beyond imperfect situations. And we got to see it between Sam Rockwell's character and the boy, and also
the mother and the boy, the mother and the Jewish girl, the Jewish girl and the boy, like the boy and his best friend, Yorkie, like fantastic. I mean, just so good. And can I also say that he wrote the characters and they were all very real. So his mother wasn't this some kind of untouchable, like, saint. Sometimes she said things to her son where I was like, you know what I mean? Like, that's a little harsh.
I remember, when she did where she put the stuff on her face and
Yeah.
I was like, she's crazy. You know, like, this is like...
But it was like, because nobody's perfect.
This is alcoholism.
But, like, there's a difference between somebody being cruel and leaning into their unhealthy behaviors and somebody who's imperfect but loves most.
Right.
And so, like, all the characters, like, it just was really, really good.
Yeah. Really love this movie. Hey, you want to go see it with me tomorrow?
Thanks for watching, and please like, comment, and subscribe.